Many of you know the answer to this one, but how deadly is it? First, 3,000 years ago, the answer to this question was likely a war chariot. So having blades on the wheels, not only could it run people over and then hurt them more, but also the charioteer, the driver, would often have an archer next to him, and the arrows counted as part of the deadliness of this vehicle. Go forward almost 3,000 years to when I was young, and I grew up in the Cold War. And to us, for those of you who didn't live then, it was quite normal and expected to get up each day and know that you might not see the evening, and mostly you just didn't think about it. Because the world could end, depending on how things were escalated that day, within 30 minutes of one person making that decision. And during that time, the answer is still the same today. This is not the largest submarine in the world. It is the third largest. Russia had two larger ones, but their missiles were bigger, so the submarines needed to be larger. This is the Ohio-class ballistic missile submarine. Started entering service in 1981. It contains 24 nuclear missiles. I say contains, not contained, because more than 40 years on, these are still in service. The missiles have been upgraded slightly. Today, an Ohio-class SSBN, submarine ballistic nuclear, can carry 24 by treaty. Since about 2010, it only carries 20. I guess that's good news. 24 missiles, each of which can have 10 or 14. It can have 10 big ones or 14 only 6 times Hiroshima ones. MIRV, how many of you know what a MIRV warhead is? Multiple independent reentry vehicle. We got to remember our Cold War terms because they're still current. That means you shoot one missile, and as it's arcing through space and about to reenter, off comes the cowling and out come 14 independently targetable reentry vehicles, because that's not one missile, it's 14 warheads that can destroy 14 cities spread well apart. That means that one of these today can target, from launch time to when it arrives a half hour later, 336 cities. And if you're wondering how far, the answer is that the range is 7,500 miles, which means if it's at one point in the Earth, a stationary sub can reach most of the Earth. And so if you're in the Mediterranean or off East Africa, you can reach nearly all the 300 top populated cities in the world from one vehicle. And there's a reason this is called a Doomsday device. Now, this is what I grew up with. It is a marvel of engineering. Like this is really impressive technology. You know how we go miles per gallon for gas or kilometers per liter? How long does this go before you run out of gas? 30 years, then you dry dock it and replace the reactor. Like, you don't have to refuel it. It's a nuclear-powered submarine that has a nuclear reactor on board. The range is limited to how much food you can put in. And how long can it stay down? The Navy says, we'll say 4 months. They're not known to exaggerate. That's because it makes its own oxygen from seawater. So you're limited entirely by food and by human factors, because it's hard to stay in a small space for that long a time. But this is really impressive as engineering. But 40 years ago, that was the Doomsday device. Those still exist today. Today, there are 14, by treaty, 4 of them were converted to guided missile cruisers. There are still 14 of these active, not mentioning the nuclear ballistic missile submarines of other navies. And we have saber-rattling countries that want to use them. So one of the things that I personally really hope is that we remember that these doomsday weapons still exist. They are in our waters as we speak tonight. But I hope that along with the ingenuity to create these wonderful technological masterpieces, that we also have the ingenuity and the wisdom to continue not to use them. Thank you.